All right, thank you so much. It's still this morning on ITV, reaching you live from the Network Center of Independent Television from Benin. We want to take you straight to our second segment, where we'll be looking at some of the key points from President Bola TINUBU'S speech. Now, after a 41-paragraph address in a nationwide broadcast to Nigerians earlier on Monday evening by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the nation's economic challenges, defined some of the way out, and of course, the presidential speech that was given in 10 paragraphs. These are some of the extracts from the speech. Number one, the president said that Nigeria's current challenges, emphasizing the need for policies measures to combat them, and he explains the reason for ending the fuel subsidy, which had become a burden on the economy and a source of enrichment for a select group of individuals. And the removal of the multiple exchange rate system is also highlighted as a crucial step to prevent currency speculation and promote fair economic growth. And of course, he also talked about cushioning the impact of the economic situation on the people. The government is implementing interventions to support businesses, the working class, and the most vulnerable citizens. Like I told you in the past, you are either rich or you're poor. But recently, we have the rich, we have the poor, and we have the poorest of the poor. Of course, there's an executive order that have been signed to address unfriendly fiscal policies and multiple taxes that hinder the business's environment, providing buffers and headroom for manufacturing enterprises. The government plans to invest in manufacturing sector by funding 75 enterprises with great potential, aiming to kickstart sustainable economic growth and improve productivity. Now, emphasis is given to supporting micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and the informal sector with funds allocated to nano businesses and startups. Of course, to ensure affordable food price, strategic reserves of grains will be released to household, and support for agriculture, including farmland cultivation, will be a priority. The government is introducing an infrastructure support fund for the state to invest in critical areas and revamp hectares and educational infrastructure. Efforts to improve public transportation include the provision of CNG-fueled buses and collaboration with labor unions to introduce a new national minimum wage for workers. About 200,000 naira has been proposed as the supposed payment or take-home pay, if you ask, for civil servants. Now, joining us to x-ray this discussion is Engineer Kenwa Obaseki. He's a global affairs analyst. He's joining us virtually from Ann Arbor, Michigan, in the United States of America. Thank you for joining us, Engineer Obaseki.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and of course, in Lagos, Nigeria, we have Austin Adigwe. He's an economic expert, a seasoned banker based in Lagos. Thank you for joining us. Also joining us virtually. Good morning, Austin Adigwe.
Yeah, good morning, Prince. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you join us. All right, now from my immediate left is not a person than Wisdom Elder. He's a public affairs analyst. He's also a clergyman. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, viewers.
All right, from my extreme left is Comrade Emmanuel Obidi. He's the President, Network of Civil Society Organizations of Nigeria, NOCSIN. Thank you for coming, President.
Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers.
All right, now take us through. Let's start with you, Comrade Obidi. Now, looking at extracting the presidential speech, what are the lacunas in that speech? Is there any lacuna so far?
Oh, excuse me. Well, to me, I think there's a lot that is not in place before we actually start talking about the speech, which is where we are now. Okay? It's like building on a faulty foundation. When a foundation is faulty, you can easily spot and see errors, even in the buildings, no matter how high it is. And the scripture says, when the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? To me, my advice is that the righteous should build another foundation.
I don't understand.
All of this.
What do you mean by building another foundation?
Good, I'm going there. All of this speech of Mr. President, of where we found ourselves today and why he's giving all this speech and all of this, is as a result of the faulty foundation he built by the statement of subsidy is gone from day one. That statement laid a wrong foundation, and instead of immediately retracing his step to redirect the machineries of governance and policy direction to correct the reactions and the manifestation of such statements in the economic and in the lives of Nigerians. You know, our leaders are so arrogant and they don't want to believe they are wrong. So instead, they started seeing what to do and what to add, and they are adding more to a wrong and a faulty foundation. Ordinarily, it was expected, because even the devil wants subsidy to go. Even the devil, because sometimes when you see the scam around subsidy in this country, the devil himself will say, in short, me, I cannot do what these Nigerians are doing. Just to go straight.
We would like to manage our time now.
Yes, just to go straight. Now, all of this statement, take for example, I will bring buses. I will bring this amount of funds into small and medium scale. They are also subsidies.
Okay.
So if you could not manage the fuel subsidy, what is the indication that you can manage the subsidy that you are throwing at Nigerians and the palliative? We have seen palliative like Shopee in the past before, and buses were deployed. They end up in the hands of this same cabal. So we were not supposed to be talking of removal of subsidy. We were supposed to be talking about the removal of the scam and corruptions around subsidy.
All right, quickly, Wisdom Elder, do you think there are scams? We have scammers, or we have those that are actually benefiting from the subsidy itself? Because according to the president, he said the subsidy doesn't benefit the entirety of Nigerians. Few persons are actually milking the country from that proceeds. Do you agree with that?
All right. I think right now the president should, we understand that there's a president, and if there is a scam in subsidy, he is in charge. He's not speculating, he's not trying to come in. The president is in charge. But what we are trying to see now, yes, there is scam in subsidy. It has been going on, but Nigeria, for crying out loud, we are not the only country that have subsidy in even petroleum products. We are not. And every other country, if they can regulate it, if they can manage it, if they can handle it to the way they have been handling it, why can't Nigeria handle subsidizing of petroleum products, especially when we have the crude oil in the country? That's first of all. So second of all is that when you look at the speech, is like trying to go around the circle, avoiding the most important things that Nigeria wants to hear. Now, was the speech necessary at a time like this? Yes. If the speech is necessary, why do we need to hear from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? So I'm also surprised that the APC government, as it stands now, after having stayed some time, there is no serious project or serious program or serious package in terms of channeling the activities of the government into a sector like in agriculture. They are just calling 70 companies, 100 companies. All these companies don't have names. And this is Nigeria, for crying out loud. We know the people that will present 100 companies. And so at this stage, we don't even have a projection that this is where we are targeting. This is a project we are launching, and all the rest of them. And then what Nigerians wanted to hear at a time like this is that these petroleum products that was inflated from so and so price to this price is going to reverse back until we are ready to handle all the effects of removal of subsidy, which we as a country, we did not hear at all.
All right, let's quickly get to our guests joining us virtually. Engineer Kenwa, you have to help us out. Do you think the president will be sincere enough to deliver from the broadcasts we've gotten so far? Are you sure the president or the presidency will deliver what they've actually promised Nigerians?
Yeah, good morning. I think the president's speech was very laudable. Yeah, these are all the programs. We've seen these programs years back. Several governments, they've laid out even better programs, but unimplementable. Nigeria's biggest problem right now is the transportation, the removal of that subsidy. He went the wrong direction. So if he couldn't manage the transportation and the subsidy removal, because every country needs subsidy. Without subsidy, Nigeria cannot survive. If the cost of petroleum products outside is roughly 600 naira per liter, go and do the math. So, and he must reinstate the subsidy, but work on the transportation. His vice president already answered Nigeria that this subsidy is being managed by the cabals. All the trillions being spent on fuel subsidy goes to individual pockets.
Okay.
He knows what to do.
Okay.
The border, they are all porous. The fuel, they wind up in the neighboring countries, and Nigeria keeps subsidizing. So, but the program, they look laudable but unimplementable.
Okay.
That is my own opinion.
All right, now let's quickly turn to Lagos, Nigeria, where Austin Adigwe is standing by. Austin Adigwe, as a financial expert, I would like you to help us out. Government to spend 75 billion naira to fund 75 enterprises at 9% per annum interest rates in 9 months. Help us out with the calculation and the mathematics. Is it possible? Do we have the fund? If the funds are available, is it tenable?
Okay, so let me align myself with the previous speakers to say that the president's speech was actually deficient in content. It's not about doling out loans to support enterprises that don't even have the infrastructural base, all right, to get off this thing. I had expected, what I was expecting, if you want to empower or kind of bring some form of respite to the rich sector, you should be addressing Nigerians on what you're doing on power. Even if power is not going to be, even if stability in power is not going to be achieved in a matter of days, you should be able to give us timeline that within this period, this government will guarantee a minimum of 10 hours, 18 hours, 22 hours, give us timeline. That is what the rich sector requires. You're giving loans to enterprises. 75 will get 75 billion. That is a billion naira each. Look at the rate of inflation. The present value of a billion naira is just about 814 million naira. Now, what are you actually going to be producing when the same government, through their policy, has kind of cut back on effective demand? When people don't have the disposable income to demand for your goods and services, it simply means that you're going to have higher inventory in days, and that will not encourage investment. So people are just going to take this money and they will not invest it in manufacturing because it's not profitable. The power is not there. Nigerians are no longer buying goods and services the way they ought to buy in order to stimulate investment and production. So it makes no sense.
Okay. All right,
it makes no sense.
Okay, thank you so much, Austin Adigwe. Ogbide Emmanuel, do you think it's a wrong direction in a right step? Do you think it's misplacement of priority?
Like I said before, I said it's building on a faulty and a wrong foundation. What is expected of our political leaders at this point in time is to acknowledge the fact that, at the beginning we have made a mistake and we need to retrace our step. And what is retracing our step? The last administration was leaving, and it was like a trap set for you. At the tail end of his administration, he terminated, what's it called? Fuel subsidy payment, okay, by the budget proposal. Now, you walked in and you fell into the trap. It would have been best for this government to say, oh, I just came in and fuel subsidy is supposed to terminate at this time. I'm giving 6 months to study the issue of fuel subsidy, and let me put XYZ measures in place to cushion the effect, as subsidy will be eventually removed. That would have retraced all the hemorrhage that we saw in various aspects of the economy.
So the statement subsidy is gone was not called for.
Everything and made everything unworkable for the country as it were right now.
Okay.
So what is now? You see, all of the statements that we are now getting to see is how to now cushion, how to now do this. Look, in medicine, you don't book a patient for an operation, and having done the operation, you start giving anesthesia. It is expected that you know the pains before you begin an operation. If not, you will kill the patient even before you solve the problem that the operation is supposed to solve. That is exactly where we have found ourselves. That the people will say, let the poor breathe, has taken oxygen away from the poor, and the poor can no longer breathe. So, all of these policies that we are making is still going to fall into the wrong hands. Because we cannot actually survive, you know, without subsidizing aspects. That is why the primary responsibility of government is the welfare of the people. So the welfare of the people talks about subsidizing things ordinary that the poor and the general population cannot access. So all of these policies, if you have not put structure, for example, in place to curb this corruption, we have seen before that governments were churning out fertilizers, and those fertilizers were found in the market. Some fertilizers were in warehouses for many years and could not be accessible to farmers. Now, we have 4 refineries. Nigeria still remains the only OPEC country that imports refined products into this country. That is corruption, because people are feeding fat from importing these fuel products. And also, look at the Dangote refineries. The Nigerian leaders are not sincere to us.
All right, we'll come back to you.
Yes.
We'll come back to you. Let's just quickly say how to manage the time. Wisdom Elder, insecurity is still raising its ugly head in some parts of the nation, and about 200,000 metric tons of grains proposed to be released. Who are the farmers that will have the cost to go to farm if their lives are not safe? Insecurity.
All right. Yes, 200,000 tons of grains. I think the last time we were here, you had a farmer that said they used their accounts to open, they used their name, sorry, their information to open accounts, and then the government pushed money into those accounts, but they were not the ones that controlled how the money was being spent. So all they keep saying is that money leaves the account. That was the contract or agreement they had with the government, and then another department came. And the last time, remember, I told you that having seen some pipelines that they have been using to, you know, to siphon crude oil out of the country, according to Kiari and the army chief, having seen those pipelines, that there is not going to be any change. Remember, I told you there's not going to be any probe, and nothing will happen about the quantity that have been going out through oil theft in this country. Nothing will happen. We'll still keep maintaining the normal export of the normal quantity that we are exporting. And look at this now. 2005, we were exporting over 1.9 million per day, barrels per day. But today we are exporting lesser. And then that means the crude oil theft has increased. And if this thing has increased, that is a problem. Now, we have 4 refineries, like he said, 2 in Port Harcourt. One is 60,000 barrels per day. The other one is about 160,000 barrels. And then we have in Warri, and then we have in Kaduna. Now, NNPC has a major contribution in Dangote refinery. If you watch the statements of Mr. President trying to avoid the obvious, you will just be seeing the body language as if he has interest in certain level of businesses in the oil and gas sector of this country. That is the truth.
Okay.
And there are information featuring in that a lot of them are the same cabal that you are saying they have interest in subsidy and all the rest of them. Those cabal also have interest in this subsidy removal. Because take for example, let me make us to understand.
Quickly.
Before subsidy was removed, PMS, all the marketers, the profit on PMS is not more than 4 or 5 naira per liter. Before subsidy was removed, the allocation comes and then you load your PMS. PMS, you don't make excessive profit on PMS before subsidy was removed. 4 naira, 5 naira maximum, and it was being regulated. Now subsidy was has been removed. Now, if the PPMC allocation is getting to 440 naira, at that stage it was even 440 naira. We were selling at 540. So excessive profits started. Then before you know it, we hit 617 naira.
Okay.
Now, let me make you understand again.
Quickly.
AGO, that's the diesel we have. The subsidy has been removed since, and we don't have any problem how that sector is being regulated. But here we have just one party that still imports the PMS into the country. So you cannot start by saying you are removing subsidy for PMS and in the same process, you don't have people who have been liberalized to even bring PMS into the country to reduce the price, because you have interest in the Dangote refinery. If Dangote refinery starts, which Nigerians are expecting, once it starts, then maybe Dangote refinery will become the controller, the regulator of petroleum products. Then the same cabal will start making money from Nigerians, because that is the target. That's where all this whole thing is going. So that the price of PMS can go high when the refinery starts, then Nigerians, so that at the end of the day, our refinery will not be working, then we will not be dependent on Dangote refinery and the investors of that refinery.
We would like to join Ken Obaseki in the United States and quickly speak to him. Can you take us through, there have been efforts from the president to improve public transportation, which include provision of CNG fueled buses in collaboration with labor unions to introduce a new national minimum wage. Do you think that is very, very okay, and it will go a long way to pushing the effect?
It's a temporary measure. It's a temporary measure. You see, you do whatever you need to do. But Nigeria's biggest problem is the cabal. Every country subsidizes one product or the other. Here in the United States, the auto industry was going bankrupt, and the government has to resuscitate it through subsidy, and it came back on its feet. But the Tinubu has to work on how to deal with this cabal. His own vice president already told Nigeria that there are so many cabals. These are human beings. They live with you. You know, they have no fear of the law, the judiciary. Here in America, people are so afraid of the judiciary because there is consequences. But in Nigeria, they can do anything and they get away with it. So that is Nigeria's biggest problem. He must reinstate that subsidy and look for a way to minimize this cabal effect on the success of the program.
Okay.
And then, too, he has to start working on the refinery.
Okay.
That Nigeria doesn't even have one refinery working, that is a shame.
Okay. Osina Digwe, if these cabals, if they are human beings, are they untouchable? Is the government afraid of them? Do they have a working relationship with the presidency or those in power? Osina Digwe, take us through.
Okay, so next to God is the government, because government is the only institution that is empowered legally to even take life. So any crime that government cannot solve, then it is complicit. It's as simple as that. It was actually a shame for the president of this country to come on national TV and admit that a handful of individuals are milking this nation dry, and that he is helpless, because that's what he's telling us. They are stronger than the state. He will rather inflict pains on the vulnerable. Statistics shows us that 82.9 million Nigerians live below 380 naira per day. What other sacrifice do you want these people to make? We have 133 million multi-dimensionally poor Nigerians. What other sacrifice do you want these people to make? It is true government policies that has pushed this number of Nigerians into abject poverty, and you're still milking them. Meanwhile, the few individuals you talked about, they are known. Issa Yoguda came on national TV and told us that one of his friends at some point said he was tired of making money from subsidy, whatever. It's on record. It's on record. That tells you that removal of subsidy ordinarily shouldn't even lead to increase in pump price, because if you're paying people subsidy that wasn't even there in the first place, so not even paying it at all has nothing to do with the pump price. So I believe that the government is complicit. They know these people. Not that they know these people, they are involved. Just by using few elites is a serious case of deceit. It is within themselves. They know what they are doing.
Okay.
So government can't tell me that they cannot handle any individual. It only takes just handcuff behind your, just get your hand and put handcuff, and that's all. All that your influence will vanish.
Okay. All right. Ogbudibana, do you think getting these people and bringing them to book, this cabal, unknown cabals, getting them and bringing them to book, will it go a long way to change the narrative in the oil sector?
Of course, that is the way forward. And the cabal is not unknown. The cabals are unknown to you and I.
Nigerians don't know
but
them.
They are known to our political leaders, elites, and government in this country. Because these same cabals, they are actually those who fund their dubious elections. If you see, politics in this country has become very expensive because men are empowered via instrumentalities of government to make excess money, and they are now become so powerful and more powerful than institutions in this country, and they can hold the state to ransom. They fund government. They fund their elections.
You think so?
Yes, yes. Let me tell you. I think it is time we start apologizing to Goodluck Jonathan. Because the only crime he committed was to point fingers to these cabals who have been milking and holding this country to ransom. The day he said he wanted to remove this aspect from their hands, that was where his problem started. Okay? So, we can actually deal with these persons, and it needs the sincerity of government, and only a responsible government can deal with the fuel subsidy cabals. Now, I was about talking about the Dangote refinery. Why I agree with my brother that government is complicit.
Which of them?
Now, yes, the last speaker.
Okay,
now, if you look at Dangote refinery, was commissioned and was inaugurated at the tail end of President Muhammadu
Buhari's administration.
Commissioned and what inaugurated, yet could not refine any crude. Now, let me tell you. If, for example, DPO, you want to open a fast food today, DPO pepper rice, and we go there, there's a tape. Sir, if I cut the tape and inaugurate or open that fast food, what it suggests to us is that we are going into that fast food and we are going to eat pepper rice immediately. Now, you commissioned a refinery just to add it as a feather to your cap.
It could be that the pepper rice is a work in progress. You still need time to put it together.
If I commission an eatery,
you need time to put things together.
I will enter into the eatery and eat the food that they are being prepared.
You might need time to put things
No,
together.
the commissioning means that you will see staff there. You will see all of the equipment and everything already. If I commission an hospital,
Okay.
it means that I can attend to patients today.
Okay.
So you commission a whole refinery, and you commissioned a refinery before May 29, and you told us that the first batch of product will come out in the first week of August. Now we are in the first week of August today. We have not seen any product from Dangote refinery. So what did you commission and what did you inaugurate? That is a government of a country. The major problem that we are having with our government today, that Nigerians have no place or basis to trust our leaders because they lied effortlessly to us from day one. And even when you say this same government today told us in 2012 that there is no subsidy.
Okay.
So what did you remove today?
Okay.
So at this point in time, we must hold government responsible. And we are telling Mr. President with this opportunity that he must do the right thing. Our refinery must start working. He must take away those cabals. We are not saying fuel subsidy and all of that. The fuel subsidy, we know that there are cabals there. You know them.
Okay.
You must tell Nigerians who are these cabals, and you must be able to bring them to book who have been sanctioned, who has gone to jail for subsidies for petroleum subsidies scam.
All right, Wisdom Elder.
Why is NNPC? NNPC that have become food deregulation still fixing the price.
Okay.
Of petroleum products.
All right, we'll get back to you, Ogbidi, Comrade Ogbidi. Let's come quickly to Wisdom Elder. Now, there are allegations that the presidency have cronies that might end up benefiting from this palliative measure. These allegations, though we are yet to independently verify them, that close to 70% of this palliative is going back to the pockets of some persons in power. Do you think that assertion is correct?
All right, first of all, like I told you, if you watch the body language of Mr. President, the critical issues were avoided. And then he danced around every other thing.
So what are the critical issues?
Yeah, we've been talking about the refineries in Nigeria. The reason why somebody will be avoiding everything about refinery in Nigeria, it might be because he has interest in importation. Number one. Or number two, he has vested interest in the coming refinery that they say has been inaugurated. These are the issues. This is a practical. We are in Nigeria. We have our crude. We don't even know what quantity we export. We don't even know the actual quantity of crude we export. We don't even know the monies that have been coming. Like I told you last time, that all the charges that were introduced by Emefiele, having arrested him and he's on trial now,
government benefited from
all
these
those charges are still going on in the country. And those charges are running into trillions of naira. On daily basis, we keep getting several series of alerts. All this money are used to generate revenue. What are these revenue doing as far as the country is concerned? The last DSS man said they were sending some of these monies abroad and borrowing them back to Nigeria. Have we stopped that? Are we channeling those money into revamping? What will it even take?
Emefiele should be discharged and acquitted.
What will it take? I said everything that he started, that they are trying him on, is still going on, and some people are still benefiting from those corruption.
DSS is saying they want to probe him. They want to do further probing.
If you are probing him, then every other thing he started, you should try as much as possible to discontinue with them. Or you give us a record of what is coming in from all our excessive bank charges, maintenance fee, cost of this and cost of that we keep seeing being debited from our accounts on a daily basis. These monies can be used to revamp all our refineries. That's one. Secondly, I told you before that it takes Nigeria government nothing to get some foreign technocrats and companies that can build, operate, and transfer refineries in this country without even the federal government funding of those projects.
Let's just quickly take reactions from guests joining us virtually. Engineer Obaseki, let's come to you now. Do you think reinstatement of the fuel subsidy will make any positive difference in this whole struggle?
if he doesn't do anything about the Kaaba, we're still going to come back to the same spot. We found we're trying to avoid. You see, fuel subsidy is needed for sure. However, the effect of the fuel subsidy is not being felt because of the Kaaba. And like my colleague said, only the government has the instrument to resolve the problem of Kaaba. You and I cannot. Here in the U.S., the government subsidizes almost some of those important sectors where the people are giving loans at much reduced rates, and they giving incentive taxes in form of taxes. So, but in our society, the government has to subsidize the fuel, and if the fuel were being subsidized, it will even help the economy.
Okay.
By just pulling out the subsidy, it actually damaged the economy.
Okay.
It actually damaged the economy.
Okay, now talking about loan now, Austin Adigwe, 1,300 nano businesses, each of the 774 local governments to get 50,000 naira each. Now the question now Nigerians are asking, what is the parameters the federal government used to check this out? In these 774 local government areas, are you sure this 50,000 naira will get to the recipients? Austin Adigwe.
Okay, so Prince, I'm going to respond in the same light. You know, I've told you earlier that this loan thing is just another scam, another way of, moving our funds without trace. Do we actually have the data to do this? And what is going to be the impact of 50,000 naira to a nano business? I've told you, the critical thing in every economy, all right, is the disposable income of people. The person you're giving 50,000 to run a business is depending on the people to patronize him with his service or buy his products. We are looking at a situation where your policy has slowed down economic activities, and people are finding it extremely difficult to even feed. So there are a number of businesses that are not even in the food line or sector. They are not going to have any patronage. That's why I keep telling you that loan is not even, it's a no-no for me.
Okay.
Let me give you an example.
Quickly.
Let me give you an example, Prince. You see, so now, the other speakers have spoken very well. The long-lasting solution to this problem is functional refineries. Pick Q1 of 2023 data. Okay, Nigerians' total trade stood at 12.1 trillion, of which 5.6 trillion relates to imports. Now, of this 5.6 trillion, we imported PMS worth 1.4 trillion. Guess what? We pay subsidy 1.1 trillion within the same period. First quarter, the total importation cost on PMS is 1.4. Our subsidy was 1.1. Now, back out this 26% of import bill on petrol.
Yeah.
And you will see that our import bill will begin to do what? Will begin to decline. And the pressure on Naira will ease. If you lump the petroleum products together in the Q1 importation, it gives you about 2.03 trillion. That's about 36% of our total import bill is on petroleum products. So why can't we refine and take this burden off our hard-earned foreign exchange?
Okay.
Now redirect them to the reservoir.
All right. Okay, Austin Adigwe, I'm afraid we need to wrap up now. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Austin Adigwe joins us live from Lagos, Nigeria, a business expert, of course, a financial expert too, and he is also a musician. He actually sang the song Answer. Thank you so much, Osnadiwe, for joining us, and also engineer Kenwa Obaseki, all the way from Annabelle, Michigan, USA. Thank you for taking your time.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it should still be around 3 a.m. your time, if I'm not mistaken. That's quite stressful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for staying up with us. And here in the studio, highly esteemed president, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And of course, our Pastor Wisdom, I like to call you Pastor now.
Thank you very much.
This is how far we can go on our platform. I am Daniel Praise Osedebame. Good morning.